Hey y'all, it's Neva from Neva Reads Books. Welcome back to my channel. If this is the first time that you've been here, thank you so much for joining me today for my May wrap up, and go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button and hit the notification bell so that you can be notified of any new videos that I upload. So today I'm going to be doing my May wrap up. So I felt like May was a really slow month for me, but I read 11 books, which is about average. So I usually read between 8 and 20 books a month, depending on different things in my life, but also depending on if I'm consuming them through ebook or through audio. I did not do a huge mix of the two, so in all I had 11 books, and then I had 3 of which were in audio, and so the rest of them, 8 of them, were in ebook form. I am a 100% digital reader. I do have some exceptions to this rule. I will collect books, especially if I want to annotate them, and I will buy the physical copies of nonfiction because I always annotate and underline and mark up all of my nonfiction books. So those are my exceptions to this rule. Otherwise, everything that I read is either audio or digital via my Kindle or my iPad, because I do read some manga on my iPad, but I also will collect manga and my favorite authors. So let's jump into the 11 books that I read this month. The first book that I read was November 9th by Colleen Hoover. I have a goal that I've talked about before where I plan on reading all of Colleen Hoover's backlist before my 31st birthday, which is November 8th of this year. So I buddy read November 9th with my friend Kristen, and I gave it a 5 coffee cup rating. I use coffee cup stickers in my digital book journal, so that would be a 5-star rating. I did give this one a 5-star, even though it was not what I was expecting. Colleen Hoover never is for me. I always go into Colleen Hoover thinking that it's going to be one thing, and it always ends up being something completely different. So with this book, we are following our 2 main characters, and it is a female main character and a male main character, and basically they meet by accident, but then you find out it's sort of on purpose. I don't really know how to explain this book without giving a ton of spoilers, so that's really all that I have for that one. Alright, the next book that I read was The Mercy, Angel of Death, which was the 3rd book in the Dollhouse series by Sarah Ennis. I gave this a 4-star. It was much slower than the other two. Much slower than the other two. And I actually gave The Hunted, Sins of the Father, which I read in April, I gave that a 4-star as well for how insanely gory it was. It was a lot to read with that one. With this one, it was more that it was so much slower, which I did appreciate, but it took me longer to get through it. So I did give that a 4-star. All in all, the whole series as a whole, which is The Dollhouse, The Hunted, Sins of the Father, and The Mercy, Angel of Death, as well as there are some novellas and things like that that you can get access to if you read the after notes in each of the books. Out of all of them, or out of the series, I gave the entire series a 4.75 star. So I highly recommend it if you like horror and thrillers. It's definitely a horror book. There are some trigger warnings that I'm going to throw out there. I don't really feel like it's going to decrease your enjoyment of this book series, but there is things like torture, a lot of body horror, things like that. So just be aware of that before you go in. I know some people consider consider triggers warnings to be spoilers, but I would never want anyone to go into this book series not knowing what was coming. All right, the 3rd book of the month was another another buddy read with my friend Kristen, which was The Dinner Guests, which is, and I feel like I'm going to say her name so wrong, but it is the newest book by Kirsten Moglen. I'm not sure if I said this correctly. I know some people say it differently. I apologize. I will just refer to her as K-Mod. I have only read 2 other K-Mod books by her. I do plan on reading her entire book backlist. So this was actually my second K-Mod book, and I gave it 5 stars. I thought that this book gripped me from the beginning to the end. This book is about neighbors. They get invited to the new neighbor's house for a dinner party, and chaos ensues. That's really all I can tell you without completely ruining this book. This is a short book at 268 pages. K-Mod writes short and sweet thrillers. This book has been by far been my favorite book by K-Mod. She's a hit or miss author for me. I've read 2 other books. One of them I also read in May, and the other one I read in April, I believe, and that one was called The Lucky Ones. I didn't love that book. I think I gave it like a 3 or 4 star. It was not my favorite at all. So alright, so book number 4 was also a 5-star read for me. That was Brutal Prince by Sophie Lark. This is the first book in the Brutal Birthright series, I believe. Yes. So this was my first Sophie Lark book. I read this book and the next 5-star book that I'm going to talk about in this wrap up. I read this book for 72 Hours in the Smut Den, which was with the Late Night Crew. Super fun, and it helped to pull me out of start to pull me out of a slump, because I did hit a slump in May. After I read The Dinner Guests, I had moved on to another book, and it did not work for me. I don't even remember what book it was, because I didn't count it as a DNF, because I only read like the first chapter and a half, and then was like, I'm not in the mood for this. I did a lot of mood reading in May, and Brutal Prince was one that was highly recommended for dark romance, and it also fit one of my prompts. I don't remember which one, but it fit one of the prompts for 72 Hours in the Smut Den, which was super fun, and I only read 2 books for that, but Brutal Prince was the first one that I read, and this is a mafia romance, forced marriage, enemies to lovers, spicy. There you go. So, yes, I highly recommend that one. The next book that I read was another short book, The Never King, which I also gave 5 stars. This is part of the Vicious Lost Boys series by Nikki St. Crow. Yes, Nikki St. Crow. And it's the first book in the Vicious Lost Boys series. I know that she has a 3rd one coming out. I believe it's called like Their Vicious Darling or something like that. It's coming out September 1st, so I am awaiting that. I have started the 2nd book called The Dark One. The Never King, 5 stars for me. Absolutely loved it. It is a Peter Pan retelling, a dark Peter Pan retelling. Everyone is over the age of 18, so don't be concerned about that. That is something that I'm always concerned about with retellings like this of children's fairy tales. But essentially, we follow Winnie, who is a descendant of Wendy Darling, and every year Peter Pan goes and kidnaps the newest Darling girl after she turns 18 years old. So he kidnaps her on her 18th birthday and takes her to Neverland because he is trying to find something that he has lost. That's the synopsis. So 5 stars. The next book that I read was Maybe Someday by Colleen Hoover. This got a 4.5 star for me. Again, I hit a reading slump, so I did a lot of mood reading, and this was one that my sister actually picked. I gave her a list of the Colleen Hoover books that I had not yet read, and when she was here visiting us in the middle of May, I had her pick one, and she picked Maybe Someday. This is the first book in the Maybe Someday series. I believe there are 3 books. I think it's 2 books and a novella or something like that. I will be continuing this series. I was skeptical of this one. I thought this was the one that a lot of people had problems with because there was cheating. However, there's emotional cheating, so I suppose that's a trigger warning. There is cheating, like physical cheating, but not between the 2 main characters that tell the story. Okay, but it did catch my eye really because it focuses around music, and I love to sing, if you did not know. Karaoke is my happy place. So I gave that one 4.5 stars. The next one that I read was Tell Me the Truth, which is my third K-Mod book. I gave this book a 4-star. It took me like over a week to get through. I did talk about this a bit more in depth in my first reading vlog. This book for me, I wanted to love it. It was a 4-star. The ending for me made it a 4-star. Otherwise, I probably would have given it a 3 because there was just a lot of information in like a 200 plus book, 200 plus page book that I didn't feel like we needed, and I felt like slowed the book down. And then the way that it wrapped up was twisty, and I wasn't expecting that, but it was not my favorite. It was not my favorite book. All right, the next book that I read, I actually listened to it, but the first audiobook that I listened to for the month was Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I gave this a 4.5 star. So I'm going to need everybody to hear me out, because I know that a lot of romance lovers were disappointed with this book. I loved this book. So hear me out. I tried to read People We Meet on Vacation. I believe it was at the beginning of this year. It may have been at the end of 2021. I do not remember, but I do know that I DNF'd it 8 chapters in. It was not for me. It was not the book. I am not a huge contemporary romance person, and this was not the book for me. So I DNF'd that one. I have not tried to read Beach Read. It's on my list. I want to try it. And I also want to try to read some of Emily Henry's young adult, because I know that she writes YA as well. Book Lovers, I loved it. And I think that I loved it for the reason that a lot of romance people did not. I liked it because it was not centered on a romance. Do I think it should have been categorized as a contemporary romance? No. I think that it was more chick lit than it was contemporary romance, and I loved the story between her sister, like the main character, and her sister. So 4.5 for me. Also, Julia Wellen, 5-star narrator. Like, she's made it to my top favorite audio narrators. All right, the next one is Finlay Donovan is Killing It, which is the first book in the Finlay Donovan series. I am reading the second book here in June, so that's exciting. But I gave this book 5 stars. I wanted something that was a thriller, but that was cozy. And someone suggested this series to me and was like, cozy thriller, which is not a genre that I even knew existed. I knew cozy mystery existed. This book was great. I devoured it. Like, the only reason I didn't read it in one day is because I have like an actual like 9 to 5 outside of my house job as well. Wish I didn't sometimes, but here we are. But I devoured this book. I had gotten a like jump the line copy from my library, and so I only had 7 days to read it. I read it in like 3. So good. Finlay Donovan. Can I tell you a lot about this book? No, I can't. Which you'll see in wrap-ups. I have trouble articulating what I read, but I can tell you that I loved it. 5 stars. The second audiobook that I read this month, or listened to this month, was Spoiler Alert by Olivia Dade. I found this book by accident. I was looking for... What was I looking for? I don't even remember. I was looking for a romance, I think, on Libby, and this popped up as an audio, so I was like, let's try it. And then in May, again, I had hit a slump, so I did a little bit more audio than I usually would, because I prefer to just read books. I'm still trying to find my sweet spot with listening to audio. This book... 5 stars. 5 coffee cups, 5 everything. 5 rainbows, 5 whatever. 5 stars for me. The representation for plus size women, beautiful. I'm not a plus size woman, okay? But I have friends and family members that have issues with representation in media. I will be reading all of Olivia Dade's backlist. Like, I found a romance that I gave 5 stars, which I have not told my friend Kristen. So either she's watching this or I'll just tell her after I make this video. But 5 stars for that. And the last book that I read, which is also an audiobook, was The Last Thing He Told Me. I gave this a 3-star. So I don't really do most anticipated reads because they never work out for me. But this was a book that was the most anticipated read for 2022 for me. I know it came out in like 2021 or something, because I got it originally through Book of the Month last year. This book I would recommend to people that are new to mysteries. It is not a thriller. I found it to be boring. I feel like some people would like this, especially if you are new to mysteries. Hear me out. If you're new to mysteries, you don't necessarily want to go into the thriller side of mystery because it can be hard to read. It can be gory. It can be scary. This book to me was not scary. This book was slow. It was a mystery, but it was slow. So I would recommend this book, which is why I gave it a high 3-star, or maybe a middle grade 3-star for myself, because I love thrillers. Thriller is my favorite genre. So when I go into a mystery or a thriller, I want it to be fast paced. I want it to be suspenseful. This book to me was not that. But I would suggest it to someone who is saying, hey, I'm breaking out into mysteries. What should I read? This one. So 3 stars. So that is my May wrap up. I feel like I did pretty well this month, considering that I did hit a slump. And I hit that slump about halfway through. I was originally supposed to participate in a Star Wars readathon challenge event thing. I submitted my tracker for that. It didn't really go the way that I wanted it to because I hit a slump. And while that challenge did allow you to mood read more than other challenges might have, it didn't allow me to mood read the way that I needed to for May. So that's my May wrap up. I have my June TBR listed. I will link it somewhere. I'll put it in the show notes or up in the cards. My June TBR is going to be the way that it is in that video, but I am also participating in Whateverathon, and I did slate myself for 15 books because I think I can do 15, especially since I am doing a couple of my buddy reads as audio. And so yes, I am participating in Whateverathon. I'm also participating in another challenge, but it's like the Who Done It challenge. I talked about that briefly before in a vlog and then said I wasn't doing it, and then I ended up getting signed up for it. So I'm going to just kind of put books where they fit for that challenge. I'm not really taking any of these challenges or reading events like super seriously, because that will stress me out. So I'm just reading what I want to read. With Whateverathon, you can read whatever you want, and you'll always get 25 points. So I'm kind of like, I can read whatever I want. But yes, that's it. And when you're seeing this, it will be on the day that I'm filming this, which is Friday. I think it's like the 4th or something, the 3rd. So it is Friday, June 3rd when I'm filming this, and it's also hopefully going to go up on Friday, June 3rd. Otherwise, it will go up on Saturday, June 4th, depending on how long it takes me to edit. There will not be a reading vlog on Sunday the 5th. I'm sorry. I lost half of my footage, and I can't get that footage back because it's footage from prior days. So I decided to just scrap the reading vlog. But I am going to be starting a Whateverathon reading vlog that's probably just going to stretch out through the entire month of June. And I am starting that as soon as I'm done filming this. So there's that, at least, for you to look forward to. And there will be a regularly scheduled reading vlog next week. I will start it on Sunday the 5th. But yes, thank you for sticking around and listening to my May wrap up. Tell me in the comments what stuff you read this month, or tell me in the comments if you have read any of the books that I read, whether it's this month or other months past. And if you want to leave me emoji, leave me the pride flag or a rainbow, because it's June. It's Pride Month. Happy Pride to everyone. You, me, whatever. And if you are struggling this Pride Month because you are still feeling like you cannot be your true and authentic self, just know that I love you and the community loves you, and I hope that you can find someone that you are comfortable and feel safe with to be your true and authentic self, because no one deserves to live in the closet forever. All right, y'all. I love y'all. Thank you for sticking around, and I'll see you in the next one.